Oh, let's shine our light. We won't listen to what they're saying. We know it's just love that we're giving to this place that we call our home. We can't change what's been done, but it's still our run. We are one little world. We can make a brighter tomorrow. Together make a change. It's our life. We can't step back from what we know is right. So let's shine our light.
Should we go ahead and start sharing our screen, Tracy? Yeah, Charlie?
Okie dokie, here we go. Right. Okay, well, hello everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, or even good evening, depending on where you're joining us from in the world. And welcome to our session. So obviously the title on the screen, you probably know already because you've registered for it. How co-curricular activities are empowering the next generation to become social leaders.
Now, before we get started, I just want to start by getting you to imagine a group of students tackling food insecurity in their community. They're not just studying this in their textbooks, they're building a hydroponic system, partnering with local businesses and empowering residents to grow their own food. Now, this is the power of co-curricular activities like Enactus, and it's crucial for developing the next generation of social leaders who can address the pressing challenges of sustainability. Now, when it comes to education for sustainable development, a higher education system right now in the UK is failing our students. A lack of incentives, limited staff expertise, and disconnected operations mean that the bulk of sustainable development education is being left as an elective pursuit and delivered by non-for-profit organisations with limited capacity and ability to navigate systems to create impact where it is needed the most.
So why is that the case? Well, so there are a lot of complex factors at play in this, and perhaps, to be honest, there's too many to cover in the short time that we've got with you today. But also, luckily for you, that is not what the session is about. Our session today actually delves into the transformative power of co-curricular activities in an educational context. And we're going to explore how these experiences go beyond textbooks, simply equipping students with those practical skills, fostering the development of socially responsible leaders who can then go and address challenges at a global level. In particular as well, how co-curricular activities like Enactus are empowering the next generation of socially responsible leaders. And we're proud to share that with you today as well.
So in this session, we will be focusing on three key areas: the importance of co-curricular activities in education and their role in developing socially responsible leaders, impact on and through that of a co-curricular program and what that can create, and examples of how Enactus program success with opportunities for further development and future challenges. So to kick us off, I'm conscious that we've not yet introduced ourselves, so I'm going to introduce myself first before handing over to my colleague Charlie, who's also joining me on this call. So my name is Amy Brereton, and I'm the Executive Director of Enactus UK and Ireland. I have been connected to the social entrepreneurship world for nearly 20 years, having taken part in co-curricular social entrepreneurship activities both throughout school and university. And of course, now I lead the UK and Ireland's largest youth social action charity, supporting thousands of young change makers every single year. Charlie?
Yes, as Amy said, my name is Charlie, and I'm the Head of Partnerships and Engagement at Enactus UK and Ireland. And my role, as you might expect, does what it says on the tin, but largely my responsibility is to look after our corporate partners. And we have 26 different corporate partners, but more relevant to this session is the second part of my role, which is about the engagement our partners have with our students and how the experience that they can bring as business leaders can really empower those students, incorporate it into the project-based learning that we give those students, and then ultimately create more impact on the communities that the students deliver projects on, and importantly, of course, on the students themselves.
Amazing. Thanks, Charlie. So let's get started with today's session then, starting with what does it mean to be co-curricular in higher education, and why is it essential for practical skills and experiences? So as a starting point, co-curricular activities are those that happen outside of regular teaching, but complement what students are learning, often in a hands-on way. They're often connected to the academic curriculum in some way, but are not graded or for credit. There are many examples of co-curricular activities in higher education in the UK especially. Organisations such as Engineering Without Borders, Amnesty International, and of course, Enactus. Now, for the purpose of the session, we work there, we will be focusing our session today on co-curricular activities with a special focus on Enactus. Now, there is no doubt that traditional education provides a strong foundation in core subjects. There has been a notable improvement in recent years in education for sustainable development, and especially with an increase in focus, curriculum integration in subjects outside the traditional environment science areas, and development of research areas. And of course, more importantly, there has been a huge demand from students. Now, a great example of this here in the UK is the Centre for Sustainable Development at the University of Cambridge, which promotes interdisciplinary research and education on sustainability issues, and only recently has been part of it.
Now, while progress has been made in these areas, there's still, to be honest, a lot of room for improvement. Some universities may well struggle with resource allocation or integrating SDE effectively across all the different disciplines. And whilst this is understandable completely, considering the current constraints on universities and higher education, I think we can all agree we don't have the time to wait for higher education to catch up to educate the future leaders. We need to act now on the emphasizing the importance of sustainable development, and importantly, the impact that those students can then go on to create. Now, within a UK context, it's typically been agreed that we're a little bit behind a lot of other countries in terms of implementing the SDGs and working towards the goals that were set originally.
Okay, so if we really want to create a change, we need to do more than just wait for higher education to catch up, which is where programs like Enactus and other co-curricular programs really do come into play. Now, the first question, I realise that we keep using this word Enactus. Now, hopefully you've all heard of us before, but just in case, I'm going to give you a quick run through about who Enactus are. So Enactus is the UK's leading, and Ireland, UK leading charity focused on youth social action and youth social enterprise. We work with thousands of young people each year, creating a co-curricular learning environment focused on equipping our change makers with the skills and knowledge to become socially responsible leaders who take action now for positive change. Now, the beauty of co-curricular activities in this context is that they bridge the gap between theory and practice, equipping students with essential practical skills and experiences, and in turn creating a deeper understanding through learning by doing. Also, by inviting multidisciplinary involvement, co-curricular programs like Enactus make sustainable development education through social action more accessible for everyone to engage with. Now, this means it's not just for those that are already interested in sustainable development. It empowers a wider range of people to get involved, meaning ultimately more impact created.
So you're probably wondering what this actually looks like practically on the ground in reality. So the easiest way to think of it is that Enactus operates like a student society on university campuses. Students then take the initiative to form Enactus teams, so it's student-led, and develop social impact projects in their community. The projects address needs in that community, and it can be locally or internationally, depending on the project's focus and the students' passions. And then by doing this, Enactus is able to foster real-life learning environments for sustainable development education through several key aspects of our co-curricular program. So in terms of those aspects, we have the following. So project-based learning, this is really a key one. Students identify and then tackle real-world sustainability challenges in their communities. Now, this kind of hands-on approach allows them to apply theoretical knowledge either directly from their studies or what they have learned through the platform of Enactus to then create practical solutions. In the second, entrepreneurial approach, so Enactus projects are designed with a sustainable business model in mind. So they learn not only how to address sustainability issues, but also to create solutions that are financially viable and can be scaled for long-term sustainable impact. Community engagement. So Enactus projects directly involve and benefit the community, and students collaborate with community members, businesses, and local organizations. The interaction that provides is really valuable in terms of the real-world experience in communication, collaboration, and stakeholder management as well. Mentorship. So Enactus students do receive, as I've alluded to previously, guidance and support from business leaders and professionals. This mentorship that students get provides crucial insights and helps students develop those essential skills like problem solving, critical thinking, leadership, all within that context of sustainable development. And finally, Enactus is actually a global network that operates internationally, and it allows students to connect on that global level and collaborate with their peers from other countries. This fosters cultural understanding and broadens their perspective on global sustainability challenges.
100%. And we've just found out recently where Tracy is based over in Nairobi. We've got a project out there, for example, where students from the UK up in Durham are collaborating with students over in Nairobi at the moment. Now, as well as this, through these elements, Enactus transforms classrooms into real-world opportunities for sustainable development. Now, students not only gain knowledge, but also develop practical skills and experiences needed to become effective change makers. We're now just going to give you, take some time to share some of the impact that the Enactus programme has created in advancing education for sustainable development through co-curricular activities, starting through the impact through students that we have with our projects. So last year alone, the Enactus programme here in the UK and Ireland supported over 200 projects to create social, economic or environmental impact in their chosen communities, advancing all of the 17 SDGs in their work. Now, over 15,000 beneficiaries' lives were improved, with thousands of interventions being created to support them across both the UK and Ireland and abroad. Now, before Charlie shares an example with you in just a second, this is just in the UK and Ireland context. As Charlie rightly mentioned before, Enactus is a global organisation in over 35 different countries worldwide. Now, as you extrapolate that impact out, last year alone, that impact led to over 100,000 lives being improved through the work of 40,000 students in thousands of projects worldwide. So if you think about it, the more students that get involved in this, the more impact that they can have, both through with projects, and we're going to talk a little bit later about the impact on. Charlie, do you want to give us an example of a great project here based in the UK?
Absolutely, 100%. So the Aston Chance for Change project is a project that's based in Birmingham, run by students at Aston University. Now, they worked with a local refugee charity and spoke to some of the refugees who'd recently arrived into the city of Birmingham about the challenges they were facing. And what they discovered that a lot of those refugees are actually women who had previously worked in industries in their home countries, often in the Middle East, and a lot of them had actually been part of the catering industry. So they'd had restaurants or small businesses that in their community, in their home country. And they worked with those refugees and the local organisation to develop a project to help upskill those women in English language and in food safety, to better increase their chances and empower them to start businesses over in the UK. Now, the way in which they did this was really, really cool. You can see it on the screen actually here, is they created a global recipe book that included recipes from the women's home countries and that were kind of culturally significant to them and very personal, including stories of their background, how their journey, and then they sold these recipe books, which allowed them to then fund English classes, food safety certificates, business licenses for the women to then be able to start their own business. And they've been able to start in the last year 5 new businesses that through the refugees have been able to start those businesses off the back of the project. But what's key about this project really is that they, and it kind of speaks to what Enactus is about, is they worked really closely with the refugees themselves to understand what issues they actually had, what help they actually needed, and were then able to design interventions and a sustainable business model in the form of the cookbook to then continue to make that impact. And the project has gone from strength to strength as a result of that.
100%. And I think it was that needs assessment at the start that really then developed and shaped that project in terms of understanding that what a lot of the women that the team wanted to work with were challenged by was things like social integration, feeling like they were part of a community, even being able to communicate. And that's how the team then developed their project based on those needs, as Charlie's just said. Now, there's also obviously through our projects, which are fantastic that our teams develop. And there's some great examples of where students have gone on to become social entrepreneurs and setting up their own enterprises or CICs here in the UK and Ireland and across the world as well. But equally, one of the things that we are really keen to kind of highlight is the impact on students that co-curricular programs create around sustainable development. Now, as much as we talk about the impact through, our programming really is a key driver in sustainable development education. And it's really about that kind of sustainability mindset that the students develop as being part of this program. So now what co-curricular programs like Enactus provide is a unique platform for students to develop their project development acumen whilst developing core skills, making them more well-rounded and impactful future leaders. So how do we do it? Well, to start with, we use experiential learning. Enactus projects aren't just simulations, they're not just theoretical. Students work on real-world issues in their communities, applying business principles to tackle social and environmental challenges, and this hand-on approach gives them valuable experience and helps them to develop problem-solving and critical thinking skills. Now, another key element of our program is competition. We are firm believers that competition drives innovation, and participating in co-curricular activities that have this element of competition teaches students valuable lessons around resilience and perseverance. As an alumni of the program myself, I know that a lot of my work ethic and a lot of my resilience came from developing projects that didn't always work. It's that dealing with setbacks, bounce back from failures, and that striving for continuous improvement that has developed me into the leader I am today, but also develops our students on a daily basis. Now, the other element is teamwork and leadership. Enactus projects are team-based, encouraging students to collaborate, communicate effectively, and navigate diverse perspectives. We are an accessible opportunity for everybody. So it's multidisciplinary, but also multi-year groups as well. So we have undergrads, we have postgrads, we have master's students, we have mature students as part of our program, and we have students who last year came from over 102 different nationalities. Now, that in itself is a massive diverse mixing pot, which is fantastic to learn from. And again, this kind of challenge in navigating work with multidisciplinary groups builds teamwork skills and leadership potential, preparing people for future workplaces as well. Now, the other is social impact. It's about Enactus students getting to learn the direct impact of their work. They witness how business ideas and solutions can improve lives and communities. This really does develop a sense of purpose, civic responsibility, and social awareness, really creating those active global citizens that we try and create through our program and other programs like ours. And of course, skill development. Now, hopefully by now, you've understood that Enactus goes beyond academics. Students develop practical skills with Enactus programs like project management, financial literacy, communication, and presentations as they work on their projects. And as Charlie rightly mentioned before, and as I alluded to as well, Enactus is global. So it connects students to a global network of peers, mentors, and business professionals. And this exposure to different cultures and perspectives broadens their horizons and provides valuable connections for their future careers.
So that all sounds great, and it is great, but it is also free, which is super important to us. It being free at the point of access to all students in the program. So if that is the case, and this is a fantastic free program available in lots of different countries around the world for students to develop, what is the challenge with that? So why is it that Enactus and other similar co-curricular sustainable development activities like this one are not commonplace in every single campus on every single university across the whole world? The truth is, it's a multifaceted problem, and the research tells us that by following the following things often contribute to co-curricular programs not being as adopted as readily as you might think. So the first of these is time commitment. So co-curricular projects can be really demanding. and they require significant time outside of academic studies, which can be a barrier for students with busy schedules or heavy workloads. The second of these things is competition. So students have lots of different choices for extracurricular activities, and there are loads of different societies out there. We've all seen them. The societies are doing great things that are similar to Enactus and might face competition from other programs, meaning that it may not be as successful with its engagement. And then finally, university support. So because Enactus on campuses around the world is a student-led society, that then means that it relies on those student leaders to keep it going from year to year, and that leadership can be inconsistent. So graduation or changes in leadership throughout the year can lead to disruptions in projects, disruptions in teams, or a decline in the quality of their program at that university. It's also something that's encouraged for students to get involved with in their spare time. So with students feeling increasingly time poor, it is really challenging to get off the ground, and that is particularly the case, for example, in the UK, where a significant number of students are now having to take part-time work while they're at university to then be able to fund their studies. So programs like Enactus are having big challenges with that because of how time poor the students are.
So, as I hope we've shared today, despite these challenges, co-curricular programs like Enactus remain a valuable program for many students, and for some, it's the only access to sustainable education that they may have. Now, until higher education catches up and takes sustainability education more seriously, co-curricular programs are an essential complement to traditional education. They provide a platform for students to develop practical skills, gain valuable experience, and become well-rounded individuals prepared for the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. Now, I'm conscious that we have rattled through that quite quickly, but we wanted to say thank you for obviously listening and being here on our session now, and we'll now open up to any questions that anyone may have. Please feel free to either pop them in the chat or come off mute, whatever you feel more comfortable with. Chris?
Hi, just a quick question. Since you're talking about how the difficulties of having this on a college campus, why not put such a program in in high schools?
That's a great question.
Because one thing, not everyone gets to college, and the other thing, of course, fewer children are working, and so on.
No, that's a fantastic question, Chris. And we are is the answer. So we currently are running a pilot in an area within the UK for what we call our Next Gen Leaders program, which is a similar program to the Enactus program, but it's based in high schools. Ideally, we would like to be involved in primary schools, which is the kindergarten version in the States in terms of like the younger kids as well, because we feel, I think there's some research that I heard the other day from an organization here in the UK called Young Enterprise, where kids as young as 7, that's when they're really starting to develop their kind of enterprise skill set and mindset. So getting them at that age is really critical. But it's certainly something that we're doing. Now, one of the things that we've seen in schools, it's unfortunately a similar kind of environment in the sense that schools are typically facing some huge capacity challenges. And one of the things, and I'm sure that this is the same worldwide, but it's one of those things that if it's measured, it's done. And currently it's not being measured by organizations such as Ofsted, which are the big educational authority here in the UK. And as a result, teachers are choosing this as an elective and maybe aren't as au fait in terms of the knowledge that they may need to have to really support the students, which is where, again, kind of projects like ourselves and other organizations like Young Enterprise are really having to step in and fill that gap, but it's done in and around the curriculum. Now, ideally, the ideal world would be that it's actually built into the curriculum, not as a separate subject, but as part of all of it. And that's certainly something that we're working on. And I've actually been part of a group recently where we're developing a paper to be given to the government, we're due to have an election in the next few months. So that's part of our ask of the government as well. But yeah, 100% agree. And we're trying our best, I promise.
Okay, thank you, Amy.
No problem.
We've got a question that's popped up in the chat, Amy, as well. Do you collaborate with social innovators from outside the UK and Ireland, and how do you do this? That's from Nisaf in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. So, great question. So we're always looking to see how we can collaborate and ultimately accelerate our impact. Like we're all doing this for the same goal, right? Like we want to really accelerate the sustainable development goals and create some fantastic impact in the world, which is really where we're all kind of coming from. So absolutely, we do collaborate with social innovators outside of the UK and Ireland. Now, one way that we do this is if there is an Enactus program already within that country, we're able to utilize that and utilize that network. Equally, we have lots of teams that collaborate with countries that aren't within the Enactus network. And typically, the way that this is often done is through university connections. So, for example, there's a university here in the UK, the University of Nottingham. They have campuses worldwide, and what they're doing is they're bringing social innovators from across their different campuses together to create and collaborate on projects. Equally, we're always looking for ways that we can improve and develop and look at how we can collaborate more, because I'm a firm believer that collaboration is key if we all want to achieve the same thing. We can't do these things alone, can we? I think there's that saying, isn't there, Charlie? Like, if you want to do things fast, go alone. If you want to do things right and well, do them together. And I think that is a great example of what we're trying to achieve here at Enactus as well. Hopefully that's answered the question.
Yeah, we've got a heart pop up, so hopefully.
Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. Are there any other questions at all? I think one of the things maybe that we didn't say in the presentation, which would maybe be helpful for you, is of course you can reach out to ourselves here if you want to get in contact or you want to know more about the Enactus program. Maybe you're educators, maybe you know people that are, or even if you know young people that might want to get involved. Like, we're always open for people to reach out. And if it's not us, if it's in a different country, we're absolutely happy to connect. One of the great things about the Enactus network is that we are all connected, and there are some fantastic alumni that we've probably got hundreds of thousands of alumni now across the world. So this program's been running in America for 50 years next year. It's been running in the UK and Ireland for just over 20 years now. So it's a well-established program. But equally, we're always looking to see how we can, as I said, improve and collaborate to create greater impact. So please do feel free to reach out, and we'd love to connect with you all as well. Amazing. Anything else that you would add, Charlie?
I was just going to say, I've just popped the link to the website into the chat where you can find out more about what we do. I'm also going to share our LinkedIn profiles in the chat as well, in case you want to connect on there instead. I'm happy to connect with everybody on the call if you'd like to. But yeah, nothing more I'd add really, unless anyone's got any extra questions.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Well, thank you, Amy, and thank you, Charlie, and thank you everyone who was able to join us in this session today. It was amazing. And for the last part, I'd like to share with you that nominations are open for the Catalyst Award. Allow me to share my screen there. I'm sorry. The nominations are open for the members you'd like to award, the members you feel like they're doing a great job and they need recognitions. I'll share the link on the chat with you. Also, we have the Catalyst Market going up, especially this amazing Mother's Day season. Feel free to go and check out the market, get your mom something nice, get your auntie something nice, get your grandma something nice, and make them feel nice from our Catalyst Market shops. And for the last part, we have launched the Ask Catalyst website, and we'd like you guys to go through it and see how it goes. Share with us any problems you encounter or any improvements that you think we should make. And feel free to reach out to us, anytime, any day. We are here for you. And I will be sharing the links with you on the chat. And thank you once again, and welcome very much. Maybe last words from...
Yeah, just from us, thank you so much for joining us today. This is our first time working with Catalyst 2030 on the Catalyst Change Weeks, and we are very glad to be here. But yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining, and please feel free to connect. We'd love to connect with you all. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. Thank you.
Bye-bye.